And there's probably one really memorable game that sort of almost changed the whole dynamics of the psychological approach that we use to motivate teams. And it happened when we played Ohio State in 1998. And they had been number one all the way through. We were 4-5, not a very good team. And we won that game. And we decided to use the approach that we were not going to focus on the outcome, that we were just going to focus on the process of what it took to play the best football you could play, which was to focus on that particular play like it had a history and a life of its own. Don't look at the scoreboard. Don't look at any other external factors. Just all your focus, all your concentration, all your effort, all your toughness, all your discipline to execute went into that particular play. And regardless of what happened on that play, success or failure, you would move on to the next play and have the same focus to do that on the next play. And that you would do that for 60 minutes in the game. And then you would be able to live with the results regardless of what those results were.
I understand the argument that, I want to get rich. I really want to get rich. I want to become a trader. I want to get rich. But, that's not, you're jumping ahead. The first goal is I got to learn how to trade. I got to stop losing money. I have to start consistently making money. I have to start to grow my account. I have to start to increase my position size. And then you say, I'm going to get rich, right? People just think, I'm going to trade, I'm going to get rich. But there are these other goals that you should really focus on. And, getting rich, that'll come naturally, right? First, you got to consistently make profit and then grow your position. And you don't have to have a huge position to make a pretty good living as a trader. If you simply take that one 20-point trade a day, that's $1,000 per E-mini contract, right? And if you get 3 of those a week, that's $3,000 a week. That's under $50,000 a year. And if you go up to 3 contracts, you're around $500,000 a year. You don't have to trade 100 contracts to do pretty well. Trying to become the best you absolutely can be at doing one thing, and that's why I do what I do. I think if you can see any kind of a system where you can make money, I think stop looking at anything else and just try to get really, really good at that one thing. Because if it's a repeatable thing, if there are patterns to it, and you can get really good at it, you can make all the money that you want. For me, I cannot, process too many different approaches. I want to keep it simple and keep it clean and just try to get really, really good at what I'm doing. Trying not to take bad setups, trying to take as many good setups as I can, and trying to work on my volume. Trading is really hard. To look at a chart at the end of the day, it's simple. To look at any type of chart, any time frame, to look at indicators at the end of the day, everything is really simple. But to do it real time, I think trading is really, really hard. And no matter how good you are, it's really, really hard. For example, let me just say something obvious. Goldman and Morgan Stanley and a whole bunch of other great firms could make 10 points in the E-mini every day. They would be trading 1,000 contracts and making their 10 points. But the reality is, I don't think they can. I think very, very few people can average 10 points day trading a day. I think it's really, really hard. So, if you just do the math and think about how many potentially great traders there are out there, and if you honestly believe that they could be making 10 points a day trading 1,000 contracts, there aren't that many. And I just decided to print out charts every day and try to understand if the market has a bear bar, why does it have a bear bar? If it has a bull bar, why does it have a bull bar? If it has 3 bull bars, why does it have 3 bull bars? So I just decided to try to figure out what the market was doing. And it didn't take long to figure it out, because at times when I would lose money, I started to see that there were clear things that were happening that caused me to lose, like buying at the top of a trading range, selling at the bottom of a trading range, picking tops and strong bull breakouts, selling in this, buying this, betting on regression to the mean and that the breakout would fail. It did not take long for me to begin to see what signs of strength really are and how important they are. So if the market's going up and it looks pretty strong, I can only buy. If it's going down and it looks pretty strong, I can only sell. And you do it long enough, you look at a chart that you print out at the end of the day, and there's something in the chart that you see that the probability was high that you'd make money. So if you print this chart out, you'd say somewhere in here, if I bought this reversal up, and it's a lot of bars up, I'm going to make money. That's all you have to see. Just buy somewhere in here, stop below there, and you'll probably make about a measured move up. Let's say you decide somewhere in here that you'd make money. Let's say you bought somewhere in here. At the point that you decide that you'd probably make money, so probability is 60%, your risk is here. At that moment, you probably are going to make about the same amount that you are risking to take the trade. So you're probably going to get a measured move up from the place where you finally decided, yeah, the probability is high for the bulls. And you can do that with pretty much any day. You can just look at any day, and something's going to happen that makes you think the market's going to do something, right? And something's going to happen that makes you think there's going to be follow through and probably a measured move. As a trader, you have to have goals. For me, my number one goal is to follow my rules. My next most important goal is not to lose money. To me, that's far more important than making money. I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing and that I do not lose money, except when I'm doing the right thing. I certainly don't want to do things that will cause me to lose money. Next, I want to make money. Obviously, everyone wants to make money as a trader. And my least important goal is to make a lot of money. You know, some days I do make a lot of money, but I don't try hard to make a lot of money. What I try hard to do is make money, and sometimes I'm fortunate and I make a lot. I'm much more concerned about following my rules, doing the right thing, not making stupid mistakes. And if I do that, I will make money, and sometimes I'll make a lot of money. If I focus too much on making a lot of money, I'll end up losing money. So to me, the most important thing is try to stay objective and do the right thing. And you know that gives you your best chance of making money. If you want to make a lot of money, you're probably feeling greedy and you're being influenced by emotion, and you'll have a hard time following your rules and achieving your goals.
Focus on that particular play like it had a history and a life of its own. Don't look at the scoreboard. Don't look at any other external factors. Just all your focus, all your concentration, all your effort, all your toughness, all your discipline to execute went into that particular play. And regardless of what happened on that play, success or failure, you would move on to the next play and have the same focus to do that on the next play. And that you would do that for 60 minutes in the game. And then you would be able to live with the results regardless of what those results were.